Hey, grade 11 and grade 12, Teach Patrick here. I'm going to be doing your digital homework this month for business studies, and we're going to be focusing on the difference between shareholders and stakeholders. Now, you might think to yourself, okay, well, these two sound very similar, but there is a big difference, okay? So shareholders, their main focus is basically regarding how much money they're investing into a company, whereas a stakeholder is more in terms of what they are going to invest in the company in terms of their time, okay, and the performance in the company. Right, so I've got a slide that I'm going to hold up for you, and I'm just going to read through them quickly, okay, and just give a brief discussion on what is each one. Okay, so we're going to start off with the stakeholders. Okay, so stakeholders have an interest in the business but don't necessarily own it. Okay, so that means they are basically employees within the company. Okay, they may be affected directly or indirectly by the company's activities. All right, so what that means is in terms of the company, the way it's run and how its performance is, okay, they making sure that the company is run properly, because if the company doesn't perform well, it's going to affect their back pocket more or less, okay, because these are people that generally work within the company. So their interest is in the company because it's going to benefit them at the end of the day. Right, so the next point that we've got, okay, looking as is they are found in all types of organizations. All right, so because they're found in all types of organizations, this can be in the private sector, the public sector, it can be in a franchise, it can be in a non-profit organization. Okay, so we can find these people that work in any of these type of company situations. Okay, all right, next point that we've got, okay, is they primarily focus on the company's performance. All right, so the company's performance is their key priority. They want to make sure that the company is running as smoothly as possible, because again, at the end of the day, they could have kickbacks, incentives on a monthly basis. And again, as the company is doing better, they got a chance of getting a higher share in terms of salary increase at the end of the month. At the end of every financial year. Okay, so again, their main focus is looking at the performance of the company. Right, and the last point that we're looking at here is stakeholders, but not necessarily shareholders. Okay, so they might not be buying shares in the company, so that means they're just a stakeholder because they're investing their time and making sure that the company is running as smooth as possible. Right, now we're looking at shareholders. Okay, so now when we go over to shareholders, so what is the difference between the two? In terms of how a shareholder is looked in a company. So shareholders partly own the business through shares and stocks. So what does this mean? Okay, they are buying physical percentage share of stock or share value within the company. Okay, so if the company is, say for instance, 100% owned by one person, that person owns the company entirely. However, if they decide to sell shares, this could be from 3%, it can have any percent value. Okay, so the number of shares they buy is going to affect their return on investment at the end of every month, because they investing money in the company, they need to get a return on that investment. Right, the next point we're looking at is directly affected by the company's financial performance. So again, because the company is in, the people, the shareholders are putting money in, okay, their primary focus is only on financial performance of the company. So they're not really worried on the day-to-day runnings, they're only worried to see how much money the company is making at the end of every month. Okay, because they, as I said, they need to get a return on investments. Right, the next point we're going to be looking at is found only in companies issuing shares. Okay, so this is for companies who only sell shares, generally in the private sector. Okay, government companies generally own the company, so they don't sell shares because the government is receiving that money. So these shares are normally sold with companies in the private sector, okay, or any other company that is willing to sell shares within their company. And again, it's to the amount of share percentage that they wish to buy. Right, the next point that we're looking on is they are mainly focused on return of investment, so ROI. Okay, so again, if they're investing 1 million baht into a company, they need to ensure that they are getting a return on that investment of 1 million baht, and they would be getting that in terms of the percentage of shares. Okay, so if that 1 million baht bought them 20% shares, they're entitled to 20% of the monthly profits only the monthly profits. Okay, so that means after that the company has made all the money, okay, and paid all their bills and everything, the money that's left over, they will get their money back on that, on 20%. Right, and then the last one that we have is always classified as stakeholders. Okay, so here they are looked as a stakeholder, even though they don't have a interest in the business. They're looking at the financial point of view. So, okay, we always class them as a stakeholder in the business. Right, I hope that helps you, and I'll see you again for your next video. Thanks, bye.